Hello everyone. Today we will discuss about the axillary artery. Now first of all, this is the axillary artery. Okay. Now it is a branch of the subclavian artery, further branch of aorta. Now this axillary artery actually begins at the outer border of the first rib and continues downwards and ends at the lower border of the teres major muscle. After that, it will continue as the brachial artery. After passing the lower border of the teres major muscle, it continues as the brachial artery. Now over here, as you can see, this artery actually overlapped or crossed by one muscle known as the pectoralis minor muscle. Okay, and because of the crossing of the pectoralis minor muscle over here, this muscle actually divides the artery into three main parts. That is, first part or the superior or the proximal part, second part posterior or the deep part, and the third part, that is the inferior or the distal part. Now the relation of each and every part. First of all, this is the relation of the first part. Okay, just remember the diagram. You will be easily able to remember all the relations. Now it has mainly four relations, that is the anterior, posterior, medial and the lateral. Now over here in the anterior, it is actually having skin, superficial fascia containing the platysma muscle or the muscle of the neck, and the supraclavicular nerves. As you can see over here, this part of the artery, first part, is actually near to the neck, and the platysma muscle is the muscle of the neck. So it will be having platysma muscle. Rest all other parts won't be having platysma muscle. Remember this. Only first part is having the platysma muscle in the relation. The platysma muscle, supraclavicular nerves, deep fascia, pectoralis major muscle. Okay, pectoralis major muscle, and just remember three things: VAN in series. That is vein, artery and nerve, because these three are in series as VAN. V for cephalic vein, A for artery, that is the thoracoacromial artery, and the nerve is the lateral pectoral nerve, and then the clavipectoral fascia. And over here, as you can see, there is the connecting loop of the lateral pectoral nerve and the medial pectoral nerve also. Okay, so up till this we are having the anterior relation up till the connecting loop of lateral and the medial pectoral nerve. Okay, now the posterior relation. As you can see over here, this is the first intercostal space and the external intercostal muscle. External intercostal muscle is actually the muscle of the abdomen part. Okay, so in first intercostal space and the external intercostal muscle, then the first and the second digitations of the serratus anterior muscle. And over here, as you can see, the nerve to serratus anterior is also present. This nerve to serratus anterior is actually also known as the long thoracic nerve, C5 to C7. In the medial cord is actually a part, we can say a part of the brachial plexus. We will discuss about this in the brachial plexus more in detail. But just remember, this medial cord is a part of the brachial plexus, and the brachial plexus is made divided into root, trunk, division, cords and branches. So out of them, this is the medial cord. Cords are of three types in that: lateral cord, posterior cord and the medial cord. And this medial cord actually formed by the ventral division of the lower trunk in the brachial plexus. Only one division, ventral division of the lower trunk. We will discuss about this in detail in the brachial plexus video. So this is formed by the ventral division of the lower trunk. So up till this is the posterior relation. Then the lateral division. Lateral division actually includes these cords, lateral and the posterior cord. In the posterior division, medial cord. In the lateral division, lateral cord and the posterior cord of brachial plexus. These two. And the medial part includes only one vein known as the axillary vein. Axillary vein comes in this part, medial relation. Now the second part is this one, behind the this pectoralis minor muscle. So of course it will be having relations along with the pectoralis minor muscle also. So as you can see, anterior relation include the skin, then the superficial fascia, then the deep fascia, then the pectoralis major muscle and the pectoralis minor muscle also in the second part. And the posterior relation, it includes the posterior cord of brachial plexus over here and the subscapularis muscle. Okay, if you remember, in the first part, the posterior cord was in the lateral relation and the medial cord was in posterior, right? Over here, as you can see. Okay, but over here you can see that the position of the cords are changed. And the posterior cord is actually formed by the posterior division of all the three trunks, and the lateral cord is mainly formed by the ventral division of the upper and the medial trunk. Okay, we'll discuss about the cords detail in the brachial plexus. Just for information I'm telling. So in the posterior relation, posterior cord and the subscapularis, and then the In the posterior relation, two things, posterior cord and the subscapularis. The lateral relation include the lateral cord of brachial plexus, this coracobrachialis muscle, short head of biceps brachii, and the medial relations include the medial cord, medial pectoral nerve, and the axillary vein. Now the relation of the third part. As you can see, this is the third part extending from the lower border of the pectoralis minor to the lower border of the teres major muscle, right? So now we will study the third part into further two parts, that is the upper part and the lower part, and we will differentiate these two accordingly so that it will be easier for you to understand and learn. Now first of all, the anterior part. As you can see, the common things over here in both of them are the skin, superficial fascia, deep fascia. Now the change over here is that this upper part is actually having the pectoralis major muscle and the median root of median nerve. The change is only two in the anterior part, pectoralis major muscle and the median root of median nerve, while over here it is not. Okay, so this was the anterior part. Now in the posterior part, remember, we are having one thing common and two things different in these two. Okay, one thing common is that they both are having the radial nerve. They both are having the radial nerve. Okay, now two things actually the upper part is having but the lower part is not. That is the axillary nerve and the subscapularis muscle. Okay, upper part is actually having the axillary nerve and the subscapularis muscle, while the lower part is actually having latissimus dorsi and the teres major. So in the posterior part, one thing is common, radial nerve. Okay, and two things in the upper part, that is the axillary nerve and the subscapularis, while in the lower part there is latissimus dorsi and the teres major muscle. Okay, now in the lateral part, just remember we are having one thing common, two things in the upper part and one thing in the lower part. So the common thing is this coracobrachialis muscle. Over here also coracobrachialis muscle. Now the two things that are present in the upper part are the musculocutaneous nerve, this one, and the lateral root of median nerve. Only these two are present in the upper part. Okay, while in the lower part we are having the median nerve. Okay, so remember, common thing is coracobrachialis in the lateral part. In the upper part, we are having the lateral root of median nerve and musculocutaneous nerve. Okay, these two. While in the lower part, we are having the median nerve. Now the medial part. In the medial part, all the relations are same in both of the part. That is axillary in both of them. Medial cutaneous nerve of forearm, medial cutaneous nerve of arm, and the ulnar nerve. Okay, all the things are same in both. Now the branches of the axillary artery. Now the axillary artery, because of the crossing of the pectoralis minor muscle, it divides into mainly three parts. We discussed this, right? Now each segment actually gives their further branches. Now it's very easy to remember. First segment give one branch, second segment give two branches, and third segment give it three branches. In the first segment, it is the superior thoracic artery. In the second, we are having thoracoacromial artery and the lateral thoracic artery. If you remember, the thoracoacromial artery actually comes in the that first part relation. In the first part relation, this thoracoacromial artery comes in the relation in the VAN, right? So it is a branch of second segment, and the lateral thoracic artery. When the third segment, we have three branches: subscapular artery, posterior and the anterior humeral circumflex artery. Now first of all, the superior thoracic artery, branch of the first segment of the axillary artery. This is actually a very small branch of the first part of the axillary artery and runs forward, downward and medially and runs between the two pectoralis muscles. That means the pectoralis minor and the pectoralis major muscle, and ends by supplying these two, that means the two pectoral muscles and also the thoracic wall. So remember, the superior thoracic artery actually supplies the two pectoralis muscle and the thoracic wall. Now the second part has mainly two branches, right? That is the thoracoacromial artery and the lateral thoracic artery. Now first of all, thoracoacromial artery. Now this is the thoracoacromial artery which actually emerges at the upper border of the pectoralis minor muscle. Okay, and actually it goes upwards and pierces the clavipectoral fascia. Okay, and it soon divides into further its four branches. That is this one. It arises at the upper border of the pectoralis minor muscle, pierces the clavipectoral fascia and gives four branches. Remember, A, C, P, D. Remember these four branches: A, C, P, D. Acromial branch, clavicular branch, pectoral branch, and deltoid branch. Now the first branch, that is the acromial branch. This is the acromial branch, and this branch actually crosses the coracoid process and ends by anastomosing with the anastomose over the scapula. Now next is the clavicular branch. This is the clavicular branch over this is the clavicular branch. Now this branch actually runs supromedially deep to the pectoralis major muscle. It actually, as you can see, this is going supromedially and runs in the deep to the pectoralis major muscle and ends by supplying, remember, two things, that is the sternoclavicular joint and the subclavius muscle. Now next is the pectoral branch. As the name says, pectoral branch, that means it will pass between the two pectoral muscles. It will pass between the two pectoral muscles and ends by supplying these two muscles and the breast. Now the deltoid branch. Deltoid branch over here, as you can see, deltoid branch, and this branch actually runs in the deltopectoral groove along with the cephalic vein. As the name says, deltoid branch, it will run in the deltopectoral groove and it runs along with the cephalic vein. Now next is the lateral thoracic artery, another branch of the second segment. Now this actually, as you can see, this is a lateral thoracic artery and this actually emerges and runs at the lower border of the pectoralis minor muscle. Now in females, this artery is actually large and gives off the lateral mammary branches to the breast. Okay. Now the third segment actually gives three branches. There is a subscapular artery, posterior and the anterior humeral circumflex artery. Now first of the anterior circumflex humeral artery. This is the anterior circumflex humeral artery. Okay. Now this artery actually arises at the lower border of the subscapular muscle. Remember, lower border subscapular muscles. Okay, and it actually runs in the front of the intertubercular sulcus of the humerus. Humerus bone has intertubercular sulcus. So it runs in that and ends by anastomosing with the posterior circumflex humeral artery. As you can see, this anterior anastomose with the posterior one. Okay, and this anterior circumflex humeral actually supplies, remember, the shoulder joint, the head and the neck of the humerus. And remember, this anterior and the posterior circumflex humeral artery actually anastomose around the surgical neck of the humerus. Surgical neck of the humerus, these two artery actually do the anastomose. And this anterior circumflex humeral actually gives mainly one branch known as the ascending branch. Okay, and that runs in the intertubercular sulcus. So it gives ascending branch that runs in the intertubercular sulcus of the humerus. Now the posterior circumflex humeral artery, another branch of the third segment, and this is comparatively larger than the anterior one, and the posterior circumflex humeral artery actually also emerges or begins at the lower border of the subscapular muscle, and it runs laterally and backward and then passes through the quadrangular space and ends by anastomosing with the anterior circumflex humeral artery around the surgical neck of the humerus. Now this posterior circumflex artery actually gives one branch as the descending branch, and this descending branch actually anastomoses with the ascending branch of the profunda brachii artery. And remember, the anterior branch gives the ascending branch and the posterior branch gives descending branch. And this anterior branch, ascending branch, actually runs in the intertubercular sulcus, while the posterior branch, descending branch, actually anastomoses with the ascending branch of the profunda brachii artery. Okay. Now this posterior, this circumflex humeral actually supplies the shoulder joint, deltoid muscle, and the other muscles also around the quadrangular space, because it actually passes through the quadrangular space, so it supplies the muscle of the quadrangular space as well. Now the third branch of the third segment is the subscapular artery, this one, and it also emerges and runs along the lower border of the subscapular muscle and ends at the inferior angle of the scapula. And remember, it supplies two main muscles, that means the latissimus dorsi and the serratus anterior. Now the subscapular artery gives off one branch known as the circumflex scapular artery, which is larger than the continuation of the main artery, and this circumflex scapular artery actually runs in the triangular intermuscular space, winds at the lateral border of the scapula, and actually gives branches to the two main fossas, remember, that is the subscapular fossa and the infraspinous fossa. This circumflex scapular artery gave branches to the subscapular fossa and the infraspinous fossa, and these both branches in both the fossas actually take part in the anastomose around the scapula or the scapular anastomose. So So remember, three branches given by the third segment, that is the anterior circumflex and the posterior circumflex. We actually anastomose together around the surgical neck of the humerus, and the third is the subscapular artery, which actually gives further branch known as the circumflex scapular artery, whose branches actually anastomose together in the scapular anastomose. How you will be able to pulsate the axillary artery? Now, axillary arterial pulsation can be felt against the lower part of the lateral wall of the axilla. This is the axilla. So at the lower part and the lateral wall of the axilla, you can feel this axillary artery pulsation. Now, in order to check the bleeding from the distal part, of the limb as an injury, operation or amputations, the artery can be effectively compressed against the humerus bone in the lower part of the lateral wall of the axilla to check the bleeding in the distal part of the limb. So just compress the artery at the humerus, against the humerus in the lower part of the lateral wall of the axilla, and you will be able to guess that if there is any kind of bleeding in the distal part of the limb or not in operation, surgery or injury. So this was all about the axillary artery. Hope you understood well. Thank you so much.